On my 18th birthday, the High King summoned the heirs of the 4 great clans: the vampires, the werewolves, the High Serpent clan, and the merfolk. He laid their portraits before me and said, "Choose one to be your bondmate." I did not hesitate. I pointed to Damon, the werewolf with no noble bloodline, born in a forgotten corner of the realm. The entire court erupted in disbelief. Everyone knew who Vertical Bar used to love.
Welcome to Luna's Romance Stories. Read the entire novel in one go. Message or comment to tell me what kind of story you'd like to read. Subscribe to the channel for daily updates. Luna reminds you, the story begins now.
Alpha Iris, the heir of the most powerful Lycan bloodline. For 7 years, I chased him with blind devotion. No matter how harshly he treated me, I never gave up. I confessed to him over and over, sometimes right in the royal court. I even performed a blood-binding ritual, slitting my wrist, to earn the right to marry him. In my previous life, I got what I wanted. I married him and we performed the mate bonding ceremony. With that union, he inherited the High King's resources and rose to become the ruler of all 4 clans. However, what I did not expect was that after our wedding, he turned around and marked my adoptive sister. My parents were furious and sent her away. From that day on, Iris hated me with a vengeance. He surrounded himself with women who all looked eerily like her. One by one they came, each more vicious than the last. With his silent approval, they tore me down piece by piece, until I was nothing more than a joke, no longer the queen I once was. The suffering pushed me into severe depression. Only suppressants keep my wolf form from spiraling out of control, until one day my medication was replaced with a slow-acting poison. He was the one who did it. I died alone, locked away in the cold palace, a child still growing inside me. However, the moon goddess granted me another chance. Reborn in this life, I chose to let them have each other. But what I didn't expect was that Alpha Iris had been reborn too. He had just stepped out of the High King's grand palace when I bumped into Iris and his wolfish crew. The heirs of the 4 great clans took one look at me and scattered like ants in a disrupted anthill. They could not resist throwing a few jabs my way as they left. Back to haunt Alpha Iris, Sophie. You've got guts. I'll give you that. You'll stop at nothing to chase after a guy. Aren't you worried your late, heroic granddad's watching from above, shaking his head in disappointment? Iris stood there, his eyes frostier than the Arctic, sizing me up as if I were an insect. What is your angle this time? Hoping the High King will go to bat for you again, still harping on that ancient favor your grandpa did for him in the war. How many times can your family play that card? His voice dripped with contempt, his eyes rolling with irritation. You've turned this into royal court gossip, dragging my name through the mud. I won't mark you as mine, not even if you beg the moon goddess herself. I knew that look all too well. My love had never even nudged his heart. I swallowed the storm inside me, keeping my voice steady. This has nothing to do with you. The High King called for me. He is going to lead my coming of age ceremony himself tomorrow. The words hung in the air, and the heirs who had not quite disappeared stopped dead in their tracks. The High King is personally overseeing your ceremony. I understood their shock. The High King had long since stepped back from such formalities, often sending others in his stead for even his own kin's events. His direct involvement was no small matter. In a world of werewolves, vampires, the High Serpent clan, and merfolk, I stood among them as a pure-blood werewolf. With a lineage untainted, I was seen as the ideal partner for the next generation. The High King had made his intentions clear when I was just 17. He declared that at my coming-of-age ceremony, he would pick a husband for me from the royal heirs of the 4 great clans. Whoever he chose would take over the High King's power and lands, stepping up as the new supreme leader. The crowd snapped out of their daze, chuckling as they clapped Iris on the back, their eyes twinkling with sly praise. Way to go, Alpha Iris. You are set for life. Don't forget about us when you are on top. The High King's got your back, and now you are the real deal, the next in line for the throne. Iris shot me a look, his smirk loaded with pride and a hint of mockery. You've been pining after me for years, and now you've got your wish. Does that feel good?" He leaned in, his voice dropping to a murmur. "Just so we're clear, I am laying down the law to avoid any future drama. This whole mate contract thing is just for show. Sure, you'll be my Luna in name, but don't even think about butting into my personal life or trying to boss me and my wolf around. Play by my rules, and I might just be persuaded to mark you." I was seething with anger at his outrageous demands. It was beyond ridiculous. A thought struck me. Could it be? Had he been reborn too? Right then, a gentle, frail voice called from behind me. "Sophie." I turned to see Ruby in a stunning velvet gown, her eyes rimmed with red, coughing softly as she approached me. Looking innocent, Iris's face transformed in an instant, and he hurried over to her. "You are still not well. What are you doing out here?" Ruby's voice was barely above a whisper. "Dad sent me. He worried my sister would be lonely in the royal court all by herself." Iris gave me an icy, mocking glance. "Aren't you a delicate one? Needing company just to leave the house? Can't you see that Ruby's sick?" With that, he led Ruby away. Before they were out of sight, Iris threw one last chilling look my way, his voice a stern warning. "Sophie, if you keep acting like you are better than Ruby and picking on her, forget about me joining you in that bonding ceremony." I could not help but let out a snarky laugh. "Iris, buddy, it is actually me who is not interested in the bonding ceremony with you," I mused silently. It was the day of the coming-of-age ceremony. The ceremony had wrapped up, and the guests had trickled out when Iris finally strolled in, taking his sweet time with Ruby in tow. Ruby was walking awkwardly, and Iris had some pretty obvious scratch marks on his neck. Anyone with half a clue could have guessed what they had been up to. In the past, that would have made me lose my cool. One was a guy I had been crushing on forever, and the other was my half-sister. Even if you didn't love me, could you at least pretend to care about decency? I stewed internally. However, now I barely gave them a second glance before I turned away to keep busy. Iris caught my look, especially that brief pause, and quickly pulled Ruby behind him. However, the angry outburst he had been waiting for never came. His smile slowly turned into a grimace, like something was bugging him, and he could not help but throw a jab my way. "You are not just pretending not to care because you are scared. I'll change my mind, are you? All right, you are playing it cool today. Since you know I will be the next High King, it is obvious I won't be tied down to just one girl for life. I'll have plenty of lovers," he boasted. "However, you did good today. So here, this is for you." He pulled out a fancy little wooden box from his pocket, but before he could hand it over, Ruby grabbed it. "Wow, it is gorgeous." Ruby's eyes lit up as she admired the gem. "Isn't this the true love gem from Lord of Winterhold? You can't even buy these." Iris, caught off guard, quickly said, "You like it then, it is yours." Ruby put on a show of hesitation. "I can't possibly take this. It is a special gift you picked out for my sister." Her words trailed off, but her eyes stayed locked on me, a smug smile playing on her lips. Iris let out a carefree chuckle. "Keep it. I'll just whip up something else for her. She treasures anything that comes from me anyway." The room was filled with the low chuckles of the other clan heirs. Just like that, a flood of memories I had kept locked away came crashing back. I was transported to that snowy Christmas when I had trudged through the storm to give Iris a present, only to get soaked to the bone. He tossed his cloak at me and casually said, "Don't catch a cold." Thad clung to that cloak like a priceless treasure, hiding it for years, until he caught me one day, secretly inhaling its scent. His face turned stormy, and he shouted, "You are pathetic." I turned beet red, from my cheeks to the tips of my ears. The High King had to intervene, tapping him with his cane. "She is just a kid. Watch your words." He shut up then, but he ensured the story spread to every heir of every clan. I became the butt of everyone's jokes. With that memory burning in my mind, I spun on my heel, ready to escape the party I had grown to loathe. However, Iris stepped in front of me, blocking my path. Leaving so soon, I know you aren't one to let things go. Do you really think I can't see right through you? You are nothing but a jealous, spiteful she-wolf. He grabbed my wrist, but I yanked it back. Alpha Iris, you'd better watch your tone. He let out a derisive laugh. Watch my tone. You are the one who has been begging me to mark you. We're destined to end up together. So why play innocent? I met his gaze and said, each word deliberate and clear. Who said I'd ever choose you as my mate? The room went dead quiet. The wolves around me erupted in laughter, their howls echoing off the walls. Iris's face was a mask of ice. Who else could you possibly choose? You were so head over heels for me. Would you ever be happy to marry anyone else? It come from the Silver Moon Pack, the mightiest of all werewolf packs, and I carry the noblest lichen blood. Sure, Alpha Damon's decent enough, but his lineage is nothing special, no match for mine. Apparently, his wolf is quite weak. He was poisoned with wolfsbane a few years ago. His stamina's never been the same since then. You really want to marry him? Be stuck with a weakling wolf for life? Every eye in the room was on me, waiting for my answer. Just then, Alpha Damon made his way into the hall, looking frail, struggling to walk at any speed. Muffled laughter spread through the crowd as I was about to declare that I would choose to marry Damon. However, the High King's words echoed in my mind. If your heart truly lies with Damon, I'll honor your choice. However, keep it under wraps for now. Once the dust settles, the truth will come out. I bit back my words, hesitating. Damon caught my eye, his gaze filled with a sadness I could not ignore. I got the High King's point with all those heirs from different clans watching, each hungry for power. I could not just blurt out my feelings. So, I decided to let them think what they wanted, and walked away from that choking atmosphere. On the drive home, Ruby and I shared a car. She flicked her wrist, and the gems in her box glittered so intensely I had to squint. So what if you marry Alpha Iris? His heart will always belong to me, she said, her voice dripping with challenge. Ruby was like two different people. To the world, she was the picture of sweetness and innocence. But when we were alone, her true colors came out, sharp and dangerous. I could not shake the memory of her previous life. Wrapped up with Iris, nothing between them. She was curled up in Iris's arms, a scared little wolf, while Iris clutched her close, as if he was protecting her from me. I felt like I would break down right then and there. Later, my parents sent Ruby off to some small town, and married her to a high serpent king who was always off fighting wars. She had it way easier than I did. However, I decided to let her stick with Iris in this life. I was curious to see how that would turn out. What do I care where his heart lies? If you are so into him, go ahead and let him mark you. You'd hope the moon goddess blesses you too, I said, though I did not mean it. Ruby paused, then smirked and laughed. Your blessings? No thanks. They might be cursed. However, no matter what, Alpha Iris is mine. Thanksgiving rolled around, and my dad had me take a gift to the High King. I walked into the royal court, and there was Ruby, all dolled up in a red dress and dripping with jewels, looking like $1,000,000. She caught my eye and gave me that little smile. Sophie, do you like my dress? Alpha Iris gave it to me. I told him I wasn't into all this bling, but he wouldn't take no for an answer. He said I deserved the best. I was annoyed and tried to walk away, but Ruby blocked my path. Sophie, can't we just talk? You look so down. Get it. It is tough. Feelings can be a real pain to deal with, she said, and then she started crying. However, it was all an act. I tried to shove her aside, but she collapsed with a dramatic gasp, clutching her leg and wailing about the pain. Why did you hit me? I am your little sister. Right then, Iris burst through the door, his eyes blazing as he took in the scene. Sophie, what the heck are you doing? His finger was practically a claw as he jabbed it in my direction. How could you be so cruel to your sister? That is just evil. I could not help it. I burst out laughing, looking from Iris to Ruby. "Ruby, I have to hand it to you. Your little act is pretty convincing. You are quite the piece of work." Out of nowhere, a wolf's howl cut through the room. Iris spun around, his hand a blur as it came down hard across my face, leaving a trail of scratches. "Don't you dare talk about Ruby that way," he shouted. The sting on my cheek felt like a burn, and my inner wolf seethed with anger. I wanted to lash out, but a quick glance at the onlookers held me back. I had to get out of there. Ruby smirked, clearly pleased with herself. Iris, realizing he had lost his cool, reached out to help me up. But Ruby clung to him. "Honey, my legs are hurting. Can you check on them for me?" she cooed, her voice feigning frailty. The crowd watched, murmuring to each other. Sophie must be so desperate for a guy that she'd even take down her sister. That is low. Iris's gaze was full of loathing. "Sophie, what have you done? Getting your attention is the worst luck." His wolf pack buddies snickered behind him, enjoying the drama. "Sophie, you'd even go after your sister if Alpha Iris had a circle of female friends. Would you lose it?" Maybe Sophie could take on the whole pack. She might shred every girl that would dare hang around Alpha Iris. Back then, I trained in combat just for Iris, vowing that if anyone tried to take him from me, they would regret it. However, looking back, I was way out of my league. While they laughed, Iris came up to me, an icy smirk playing on his lips. "Today, the High King will make our marriage official. Remember what I told you before?" His voice was like ice. "After we're married, we'll live separate lives. Play nice, and maybe I'll let you save some dignity in this marriage." I was floored. How could the heir to our kind say something so outrageous? He took my silence for consent, his grin growing wider. "Just keep in line, and I won't let you embarrass yourself in public." He was sure I would fall in line. Then came the sound of footsteps. The High King's right-hand man, his second in command, stepped out, with Damon, the werewolf, in tow. He was not the sickly figure I remembered, but was decked out in a deep purple suit with delicate gold embroidery that showed off his strong build. He noticed the dried blood on my face, made his way through the crowd, and stopped in front of me. "You okay?" My heart skipped a beat. It took me back to my previous life when I was helpless, and he was there. "Sophie, what are you doing here?" He never used to call me Luna. I thought he had something against me, only to find out when it was too late that was not true at all. "Does it hurt?" Damon's voice was soft and full of concern. I looked up, and our eyes locked as a pang of bitterness hit me. "I am fine," I managed to say with a weak smile. Then Iris scoffed and said, "Why do you care if that hurts, Damon? She is going to be my wife." The second, in common, seemed slightly startled by Iris's words. However, he shrugged it off and said, "Let's head in, the High King's waiting for us." As Iris strutted by me, he muttered a warning under his breath. "Don't forget what I told you." He strutted away, looking smug as if he had the whole world in his pocket. The guests had all filed into the great hall, where the High King sat in the place of honor. With a warm smile he stood, took my hand, and led me to the platform. "Today, I have a big announcement," he said, pausing to look around at everyone gathered. "Sophie's 18 now, and as promised to her granddad, we will choose a suitable husband from the heirs of the 4 great clans. Whoever she marries will be next in line for my throne." The High King's wealth was legendary, and his throne was the ultimate prize. Desire was written all over the faces of the guests. "Let's bring up the couple, and I'll vouch for them myself." All puffed up and proud, Iris was already stepping forward, ready to climb onto the stage. However, the High King stopped him with a smile and turned to Damon, who was standing off to the side, dressed to the nines. Damon was far from the weakling everyone remembered. He stood tall, his gaze steady, capturing everyone's attention. He walked up with a crystal crown in hand. "Sophie, my future Luna, come and join me," he said. The room was abuzz with hushed voices that quickly grew louder. "Can you believe it? Is she really picking Damon over Iris? She is betraying Iris." No way, that can't be right. Iris's face lost all color. His hands balled into fists, rage written all over him. He spun around to face the High King, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. High King, there has got to be some mistake, right? The High King just gave him an icy look and let out a mocking laugh. His second in command picked up where he left off. The second in command's voice was icy as he reminded everyone, saying, "The High King has said it loud and clear, Sophie's chosen Damon." Iris yelled, his voice laced with disbelief. "That is impossible. Sophie, tell them. You picked me, didn't you? It was me you chose." His eyes were desperate, as if he could not trust his own ears. I kept my voice calm. "I chose Damon." Damon gave me a soft, warm smile, Iris, though, was beyond furious, and he lunged forward. "You are into me. Everyone from the 4 great clans knows it. How could you pick some werewolf from the sticks? This has to be a mistake." Without hesitation, the second in command pulled Iris back, shouting, "What are you waiting for? Take him away now." The guards finally snapped to it and rushed to drag Iris off. However, Iris was not about to give up. He spun around, shouting at me, "Sophie, come on. Tell them you chose me. Just say you messed up to the High King." The High King waved his hand, clearly annoyed, and the guards shut the doors. The hall fell silent. The second in command handed me a wooden box once more. "Sophie, this is the High King's blessing, paving the way for your future." I looked down at the wooden box in my hands, knowing full well what it meant. It was the symbol of the High King's power and riches. Later at the banquet, I looked around and did not spot Iris anywhere. As I turned, I bumped into Damon's arms, his familiar scent sending a jolt through me. Memories came flooding back, overwhelming me like a tidal wave. The agony of my previous life with Iris was inescapable. In my previous life, Iris had tampered with my meds, knocking me out with wolfsbane and landing me in a clinic. Damon was frantic, begging the healer for help. He punched Iris right in the face, his voice thundering as he shouted, "She should never have been yours!" After I died, Damon dug up a mountain of dirt on Iris and yanked him off his throne. By that time, I was just a wandering spirit. Still, Damon's bold move shook me to the core. I could not fathom why he would go to such lengths for me. However, in my new life, the voice inside me was crystal clear. Marry him, and you'll never have a single regret. The feast kicked off, and the High King called Damon to the high table. Without a word, it was clear. Damon was the chosen successor. Damon did not flinch. He took his seat next to the king, like he belonged there. The crowd whispered among themselves, stunned. No one saw it coming. Me picking a guy the pack had written off. They all had me pegged for Iris. However, the real shocker, everyone knew Damon had been through the ringer in battle. The wolf in him was hanging by a thread. As for his instincts, well, it was up for debate. While everyone was busy gossiping, Iris, stinking of booze, bulldozed his way to the High King. He was a mess, barely saying, "Your Majesty, you can't let them tie the knot." The High King shot him a look that could freeze fire and snapped, saying, "Get this drunk out of here, don't let him make a scene." However, Iris was not about to roll over. He roared at the king, shouting, "You can't do this. Sophie and I, our wolf spirits are like magnets. We're head over heels with each other. You can't just hand her to someone else." The High King's eyes locked onto me, a sly smirk playing on his lips, tinged with a dash of scorn. Wolf spirit kinship, that is news to me. "Go on, tell him, Sophie." I let out a soft chuckle, my voice steady and serene. I'm not sure why Alpha Iris is saying that. He is like a brother to me, but his heart. It has always been set on my sister Ruby. Iris's lips quivered, his face a mask of disbelief as he begged me, "Sophie, you can't do this to me. I am the one you should be with. Sophie, I've always loved you and no one else." Then, with a wild grin, he hissed, saying, "I get it, you are jealous, so you are using Damon to get under my skin, right? You are doing this because I gave Ruby the gift at your coming of-age party. I shot back, my tone icy, saying, Alpha Iris, cut the drama. Damon and I are getting married, end of story. Iris's face twisted in fury, and he lunged for me. Sophie, you are meant to be mine. He reached out to snatch me, but Damon stepped in, blocking him. Alpha Iris, it is Thanksgiving. Remember time and place. Man, you've been turned down. Sophie's with me. Damon's voice was a deep, unwavering growl. Iris, seething, shoved Damon aside. You are nothing but a low-born werewolf from the sticks, and you dare talk back to me. And what if I do? The High King slammed his scepter down hard, silencing the hall instantly. You are barred from the royal court from this day. Fourth, go and think about what you've done. Iris' eyes were blazing with a furious red as he yelled, Sophie, you've got to tell the High King it is me you are into. It is my wolf that you want to be with. Aegis turned and flashed Damon, a soft, reassuring smile. However, Damon hung his head like he could not bear to meet my gaze. The rumor mill was in overdrive outside. Can you believe Iris stood up to the High King for Sophie? It heard she picked Damon now. Iris and Sophie's sister are thick as thieves. Man, things are heating up. It is wild, right? Ignored all the whispers and chatter. My mind was on the future. My wedding with Damon was set for next month. Damon had come to me a few days back. His eyes locked on mine for the longest time before he finally broke the silence. If you are having second thoughts, I can talk to the High King to call off our engagement. Why would I be having second thoughts? I said, my voice steady as a rock. I know you had a thing for Alpha Iris once. There was a hint of hurt in his voice that he could not quite hide. That took me back to my previous life when Damon had gone to the ends of the earth for me, nearly sacrificing it all. I felt my eyes welled up. Yeah, I had feelings for him once, but that is history. Why? He sounded like he could not believe it. Lose to be so headstrong, thinking if I just held on tight enough, I could make anything happen. However, I get it now. Love doesn't work like that. I had this dream, you see, where you were the one who saved me. That was why I was so pumped the first couple of times we met. Damon's ears turned a shade pinker, and he looked down. So, you are sure about this? About marrying me? His voice shook just a little, and nodded. There it was. A smile broke across his face, full of joy and peace he could not quite keep under wraps. He pulled a wooden box from behind his back, roughly the same size as the one the High King had given me. This is my promise to you, my all, he said, his voice deep and tinged with a hint of bashfulness. If I ever let you down, I'll be left with nothing. He had clearly thought that through before he came. The wooden box in my hands captivated me, stirring emotions deep within. The High King had been generous because of a debt from the past, but Damon's reasons were a mystery. I did not ask. Instead, I tucked the box away carefully. Then, I unclasped the gemstone pendant my grandma had left me, the one I had given to Iris in my previous life, only for him to use to woo someone else. Now, Damon accepted it with reverence, cradling it in his hands. Sophie, I'll always treat you right, he said. A promise. His voice was gentle yet resolute. Back home, Ruby was perched by the piano in the living room. The door's noise made her whip around, shooting me a fierce glare. Sophie, you are so sly, using Damon to get under Alpha Iris' skin. Too bad. Alpha Iris couldn't care less about your games, she sneered. And everyone knows Damon's a nobody. So what? You plan to spend your life alone if you marry him? Her laugh was self-satisfied as she finished. Her smug face almost made my inner wolf lash out, but I kept calm. That was when a servant's voice boomed through the house. Ooh, isn't that Alpha Iris, Miss Sophie? You've got to see this. I rushed to the window, and there he was. Iris standing in our yard with our neighbors whispering, and watching, check it out. Alpha Iris is heading this way. Rumor has it he has got a thing for Sophie. I had not even opened my mouth when Ruby bolted toward him. "Alpha Iris, are you here for me?" Her smile was dripping with sweetness. However, Iris did not even flinch as he brushed her aside. Ruby stumbled and hit the ground hard from his shove. "Sophie, be my Luna. We're meant to be together," he said, dropping to one knee. With everyone's eyes on him, he pulled out a ring, his gaze burning with earnest passion. The crowd went silent, all eyes glued to the surprise proposal. I felt sick to my stomach. "What is going on with you?" I thought. "Ruby was your girl." He saw me turn to leave and quickly got to his feet, reaching out to stop me. However, Ruby yanked on his arm. "Sophie, hold up. You must hear me out. You are the only one in my mind." "That is not what you said before. You told me once we were married, we'd lead our own lives, no meddling," I said. "Was kidding. How could I ever mean that?" His face was a mix of desperation and honesty. I might have fallen for it if I had not been through what I had in my previous life. Ruby's tears came fast when she heard him. "Alpha Iris, how could you say those things? You told me you liked me. You said I was more beautiful and lovable than my sister. You promised to mark me. That is why Enough." Iris snapped, slashing her with his claws, just like he had done to me once. Ruby's face was instantly marked with 5 bright red lines. "This is all your fault. If it weren't for you, why would Sophie be upset and think about pairing up with another guy?" He could not see that he was the one to blame. He acted like he was above it all. Like the idea of looking back on his actions with regret was something he would never have to deal with. "You think you, with your tainted blood, are worthy of me." He had known the truth all along. He just played dumb. Sophie's high and mighty, a pure-blood werewolf through and through. You are just her half-sister, and everyone's clued in on how low your mom's bloodline ranks. You were just a fling to me. Did you really think I'd ever mark you?" Ruby's face went ghostly, a mix of pale and green. She had lived her life believing she was a true daughter of the family, with all the rights and status that came with it. However, the harsh truth of her heritage was laid bare for all to see, and the snide comments cut deep, like a blade to Ruby's heart. "'Tum not lowborn, I am not. I am my father's real daughter," she cried out, her voice dripping with desperation. Iris's voice was like ice as she sneered. "You think I am clueless? Just look at yourself, your looks, your intelligence, your grace. Do you see a werewolf of noble blood? All you do is strut around for attention. You are not even fit to be Sophie's maid, let alone dream of marrying me." Thad had enough and turned on my heel to leave. Iris lunged, grabbing my wrist. "Sophie, you see, I've set her straight. There is nothing between us now. Give me another shot, okay?" I yanked my arm free, my voice as icy as the Arctic. "Alpha Iris, I am about to become another Pax Luna. You think you are entitled to everything because of your oh-so-great bloodline. However, there is one thing you'll never get your hands on." Iris looked lost. "And what is that?" I stood tall, my voice ringing out. "A do-over. There is no magic pill for regret in this world." I raised my voice just a notch. "Pretty soon, Damon and I will tie the knot, and you are totally invited to the bonding ceremony." Iris looked like he had more to say, but I did not want to hear it. I wriggled free and slammed the door shut. It felt like forever before a servant came in to tell me Iris had taken off. Ruby had even tried to visit Iris at the Carter's place, but he would not even let her past the front door. Me, I could not care less. Not my circus, not my monkeys. The day of the bonding ceremony dawned. I was up with the sun, getting my glam on. Damon scooped me up in his arms like I weighed nothing, and we headed for the banquet hall. I sneaked a peek at his profile. He was nothing like Iris. Iris was the textbook snooty blue blood, with that wild child vibe and a smirk that just screamed trouble. Damon was the real deal, a gentleman through and through. He was all about precision and poise. His nose was like a sculpture, and his lips, sealed in a straight line, made him look serene. Some folks would call a guy like him ice cold, but I had seen him put his life on the line for me. That thought alone sent a wave of warmth through me. It was like history was repeating itself, but it was a whole new ballgame this time. Out of nowhere, the wedding car procession ground to a halt. I looked up, and there was Iris, suited up and sporting the groom's boutonniere, smack in the middle of the road. The nerve, the guy was off his rocker. Damon moved to get out, but I put a hand on his chest and said, "Let me deal with this mess. I want to keep things from getting too ugly." However, he grabbed my hand and said, "We're in this together, for better or worse, whatever comes our way." At that moment, his hand felt like a warm cocoon around my heart, and I knew I had my rock. Iris, seeing how tight we were, just lost it even more. "Sophie, come with me. You were always meant to be mine. I'll make you my Luna." I could not help but laugh at the ridiculousness of the scene. Did he really think of marriage as some kind of play? He did not value what we had before, yet there he was, making a scene. "Alpha Iris, I've made myself clear. You are welcome to watch the ceremony, but if you are here to stir up trouble, I'll have the guards escort you out." "Sophie, how can you talk to me like this? I am the one you love the most, right?" His words were cut short as he lunged at me, a wild look in his eyes and a gleaming silver dagger in his hand. Damon acted fast. He managed to snatch the dagger away, but not without getting hurt himself. Blood splattered on the ground. I rushed to Damon's side, pressing down on his wound. My voice filled with concern as I asked, "Why must you be so reckless?" Iris's voice was laced with agony as he said, "You used to only worry about me. Why him?" I shot Iris an icy look. "Damon is my partner. Of course, I am going to be worried about him." The guards had Iris pinned down, effectively caging him in. Out of nowhere, Ruby appeared, sobbing as she clung to Iris. "Alpha Iris, I'll be your Luna. I am ready to go through your marking ceremony." Iris quickly defended himself. "Sophie, I never intended to mark her." He turned to me, his voice barely above a whisper as he said, "Sophie, I messed up. Please give me one more chance. I promise I'll make it up to you. I won't let you down again." I was done listening to his empty promises. "Take him away. Let the High King deal with him," I commanded, my voice as sharp as ice. Once I was back in the car, a healer from our entourage came over to tend to us. The good news was that the cut had not been tainted with wolfsbane. It only needed a quick cleaning and we were good to go. The bonding ceremony went off without a hitch. Iris got the boot, and I heard that the High King's enforcers gave him a week. Long time, out to think about what he had done as dusk settled in. The last of the party guests trickled out. I slipped into my PJs and hopped into bed. Damon was next to me, looking like a tomato, all red-faced and fidgety. I tapped the mattress, teasing him, saying, "What is with the shyness? You are not planning on sleeping solo forever, are you?" He finally got into his nightwear and crawled into bed, inching until he sat beside me. I snuggled up to his shoulder, my fingers dancing across his pecs. "We weren't exactly close before." "Why are you being so nice to me?" I whispered. "Nice?" His voice was scratchy, like he had swallowed sandpaper. "You are not worried about the rumors, are you?" "About marrying a girl who got ditched by Alpha Iris?" Damon murmured. "Ignore the haters. I am the lucky one here. Iris' loss is my gain." His words were like a soft breeze, making my heart flutter with a sweet, spreading warmth. "I've got a secret," Damon said, smiling. "I've had a crush on you for ages." I looked at him, my eyes wide with surprise. "Remember when we were kids, and my parents were still around? We visited your place, and you were just a little thing, barely a year old, pouting for candy. Right then, I knew there couldn't be a cuter kid in the world. After my parents were gone, I kept to myself. However, I'd watch you from afar whenever you were out and about. I didn't want to bug you, but seeing you bending over backward for Alpha Iris hurt. Now, though, I don't have to worry." Damon grinned, like he had won the lottery. It turned out he had been in my corner all that time. I found it funny how life worked out. Out of the blue, a memory hit me. "I heard you were there when your parents had that terrible accident. And after that, Your health. I trailed off, the words sticking in my throat. I did not want to rip open old wounds. Damon's voice was a whisper. You want to know if I am fine? Come closer and see. My cheeks flamed up, and I quickly looked down, shutting up. Months rolled by, and I found myself expecting a baby. The High King's second, in command, dropped by with news. The High King was ready to pass the torch, and Damon was to take over some royal duties. Look, forget the small stuff. Just make sure you take care of those misfits so the regular folks can put food on their table. The High King had said when his time was running out. Ruby was a no-show at the High King's funeral. Curious, I asked a servant and learned that Ruby's mind seemed to have wandered after Iris ditched her. Our dad had her sent to a sanatorium, but she escaped without a trace. Maybe a lone wolf took her under its wing. Poor thing, the servant said with a sigh. It looked like Ruby's story was bound to have a sad ending. Then, Iris wanted to hold down the fort at the border. So following the High King's last wishes, Damon doled out some land to him. Post-split, Riz went wild. By day, he would scout the border. By night, he would dive into the high life. Then one day, he came looking for Damon. The guard stopped him at the gate, but I bumped into him while on an errand. His hair was messy, his face scruffy, and he said he needed a word with me. Sophie, did you know? I am actually your husband. We tied the knot in my previous life, and it was bliss. I could not help but snicker. Bliss, why didn't you mention how you poisoned me? You really did a number on me. He froze, and his face paled. How did you know? So, you've been reborn too. That must be why you'd dare face Damon again, I said, ice in my voice. He stumbled backward, his voice catching in his throat. I won. I did not give him another glance. I strode straight for the castle gates, as they shut behind me. The muffled sounds of the guards hauling him away echoed faintly. Then, out of nowhere, a shout pierced the air. Good heavens! There has been an accident. Iris got slashed with a dagger laced with some kind of silver toxin. I did not look back. My steps did not falter. I was on my way to a new chapter, a life filled with promise and joy.